What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Card Lounge podcast. It's Robo and
Twice Baked Jake.
And we got Black Bolt and White Flare. It is Black and White release weekend. Have you opened up a lot of Black and White yet, Jake?
I've opened up maybe a little bit over 100 booster packs so far. And I had a lot of fun with these sets. I'm enjoying it a lot, mainly because illustration rares.
Yeah.
Pulling an illustration rare every couple of booster packs does lift my spirit, regardless of the value or anything of that nature. It just feels good to see some cool arts.
And that's what we were kind of saying, right? Is just because now you get illustration rares of every single Pokemon, or at least that's what they did for this specific set. It does feel like I want to say one out of every maybe 5 to 6, definitely within like 10 packs, you'll hit an IR, which, you know, you don't get those types of odds in previous sets.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good just to see cool art, and I'm enjoying the pull rates. The Pokeball holographic reverse helps. The Master Ball holographic reverse helps. Even if they're not super valuable, the fact that you feel like you always sort of get something when you open up these packs, just because there's a variety of different potential gimmicky hits that you can experience, things that are inside of the packs, it feels cool.
Yeah.
It feels fun, which I felt like was what Prismatic Evolutions was lacking, and this is a great middle ground of just a fun, enjoyable set. If this set ever reaches retail price, this is going to be my go-to set to open for a while. If I ever feel like the urge to open up something, I know for sure Black Bolt and White Flare has my back in terms of fun hits rates.
You think this would go to MSRP?
Why not? We'll see.
There's no way. They can't print enough.
All right.
There's no way they can print enough.
So we each got a booster pack of Black Bolt and White Flare, and we are going to try to do a classic Card Lounge pack battle between me and Rob. If you drop a comment down in the comment section, you will be entered to win all of our hits, as well as some additional Black Bolt and White Flare booster packs. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys are enjoying the content, just because we're pretty close to 10,000 subscribers, which is more than I ever thought this podcast would ever get, which is really
crazy.
Cool.
It's crazy. Thank you guys all for watching and tuning in. The fact that we're almost to 10,000 is nuts. Here, what are you getting? Okay, you got Crustle. Everyone, Darmanitan, everyone listening in. Hey, he got an illustration rare.
Illustration
rare. So if you're listening on audio, he got the Cincino. Oh, and a...
That's the Genesect, ain't it? I know my Genesect.
And a Genesect EX full art. And one thing that both me and Jake... in opening up these packs have noticed, the full arts look really clean in this set.
Yeah, they look really solid. Great texturing. The colors, the arts, they pop. I'm going to be 4-1 on you or something. I've been keeping score, and I think I've been kicking your butt on some of these.
That was a really good pack. You got a double hit. All right, let's see. Now we're on my camera.
We got ourselves Air Balloon.
Here we go.
Snivy.
Come on.
Nope. You got yourself a Static Hollow.
Arctic. I always get this card. All right, White Flare.
All right, I'm opening up my White Flare as well. We'll just do it at the same time and see what we get.
I need the all-white Reshiram here.
So I think I told you, but in my very first booster pack of my very first ETB that I opened up for a viewer, I got the Zekrom Monochrome. In the first pack. That's absolutely wild. It was a really cool hit, and I'm happy that they got it. Really cool card. And obviously, we shipped it right to them.
I'm going to say you were really lucky for hitting that.
Pokeball holographic reverse. It is a really cool card. And, we got ourselves a Keldeo EX. I'll take it.
Keldeo EX, okay.
I'll take it. You can't complain. Nice.
Stunfisk
we pulled
illustration
that inside of our Black Bolt and White Flare pack battle for the Japanese version.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Sweet. Yeah, look at this, guys. So remember, like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe, because look, you're going to be actually getting some hits.
Some actually good hits from the Card Lounge for once.
Yeah.
It's about time we deliver something to the viewers.
Good stuff.
I will say the illustration rares, we've talked about this, is that for most of them, they look pretty generic. Like even something like the Cincino here, it's pretty basic. It looks like something that's just inside of a normal border, and they just expanded it a little bit for the illustration rare.
I get what you're saying, but there's also some that don't look basic, and those will probably be the ones that end up being more expensive, just based off the artwork. Like this Stunfisk, I see what you mean, looks super basic. I've pulled some cards though where it's like it's there's no texture. That's how you know it's just a IR instead of a SIR. But the artwork for some of the IRs, if you put texture on it, would look fantastic. Like there's an amount of detail in the artwork that it almost looks like an alt art.
Yeah.
You know?
And here's another theory. I have another theory about this, which is that basically they made the decision to put in an illustration rare for every single Pokemon later in the decision making tree is that they already had some illustration rare plans, such as the starters,
right?
You know, the Samurott and the Snivy, and all of those illustration rare looks really good. And if you look through the set of black and white, you can probably spot a couple of illustration rares that really stand out, like the Seismitoad, the Ducklet. There's a couple of illustration rares that look really, really good.
Yeah.
Clearly, they went into those cards with the plan to make them illustration rares from the start. And then at some point, I bet you in the planning tree, they said, hey, we're just going to make an illustration rare of every single Pokemon. And they didn't have that plan ahead of time. So you end up with ones like the Stunfisk and the Cincino here, where it's a little bit more bland because they weren't ever planning on this being an illustration rare. It was just meant to be a normal card, but they just expanded the artwork and threw in the hollow pattern, which is completely fine. Not every illustration rare needs to be gorgeous, but I could sort of tell that some of them were kind of not put on the same pedestal as some other illustration rares, right? That's the end decision.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying. It's kind of interesting. Why do you think they would have done that though? Or why do you think who made the ultimate decision to go, you know what, every single Pokemon from Gen 5 is going to get an illustration rare?
It could have been product testing. I'm going to be honest. The thing about Black Bolt and White Flare, and I've recognized this now, is that it really is standing on the leg of just Unova Pokemon, and it is showing that. If you look at the prices on the Master Balls, they're actually really cheap. Most of the Master Balls for this set is $3 to $5 because people don't put them on the same levels as like the 151 Master Balls, where every single Master Ball is so meaningful and impactful. And some of the big ones like the Gengar, the Pikachu, they're going for $100, $200 in the 151 set.
Wow.
But none of the ones from this set are reaching that level. I checked on the prices for a Snivy Master Ball. It's like $5, and that's a starter, you know?
Well, are you comparing Japanese to because 151 only had those for the Japanese set?
Yep. But it's carrying that weight, right? And I'm looking at the Master Ball prices for English, and they're still not carrying that level of oomph. And that shows that there are people out there that do not care about this set at all,
right?
Because they're saying, hey, you know what, I'm a Gen 1 to Gen 3 collector, and I didn't really play Black and White, and I'm okay with that, and they're just going to skip this set. So that's why there is still demand for it, but I do think this set requires a little bit more oomph to give it that interestingness to someone like me, who I didn't really play much of Black and White. I think I reached like the 5th gym and I stopped at a certain point because I got bored of the game.
You never finished? Dude, Black and White was a great game.
Yeah, I played it a little bit later. I think I started playing it when I was 22 to 24, and I played on an emulator because I didn't play it when it originally released.
Oh, I played it when it came out.
Yeah, when it came out, I was already no longer playing Pokemon. So I played it later, and obviously if I played Black and White 10 years after release, it didn't have the same level of impact on me from the initial release.
I do see what you mean, and there's probably just more distractions and
I was in college basically.
Better graphic games and stuff that's competing with your attention. But I remember Black and White. I remember playing that on the Game Boy. I'm trying to think if that was still. I want to say it was already past the SP, maybe for. What I'm trying to think.
It might have been the
DS.
Yeah, it might have been the first one on the DS.
It was a dual screen.
And I remember the gimmick was
I feel like I remember that.
Every gen they add a new gimmick, which was Gen 2. They had night and day was the mechanic. Was that in Gen 2, different Pokemon would appear depending on whether it was the daytime or the nighttime. And in Black and White, the gimmick was seasonal. Was that there was multiple seasons in the world, and that's where you have things like the Deerling and the Sawsbucks, and they would change form depending on the season. And I didn't really get captured with the mechanic. And I'm sure if you're a Black and White kid, like this set is like your baby. It's like fantastic. You know, one illustration rare inside of every single Pokemon. That's really cool. But it's not going to be for everyone, which is okay.
Right. And so to your point, it's a trade-off of like, okay, if you love this set, you get an illustration rare of every single one. Like, I don't know, do I feel the need to collect or master? This is going to be a tough set to master set because they drop 2 separate sets. Like a lot of people are wondering, oh, are you going to get the same illustration rares, but maybe different SIRs out of the different sets? But it's truly 2 separate sets. So you can't pull stuff from White Flare that you can pull from Black Bolt and vice versa. What I think is interesting though is it really is like riding on, as you were saying, kind of, but just they don't have a single Pokemon from outside of Gen 5. So it's interesting when you don't have like when there's certain sets when they don't have like Charizard, or you know, like how Evolving Skies, like there's no Charizard, but there's no Gengar, but there's the evolutions. And then they also throw in, oh, let's throw Rayquaza in here, and then also Dragonite. And it's these other popular Pokemon that kind of help make the set strong, even if there's like a less popular alt art Pokemon like Noivern. Even though I think the artwork for the Noivern is super cool looking. It looks like it's got a Batman vibe to it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this kind of, I don't know, lands a year from now, how people like remember Black Bolt and White Flare. Honestly, I just think, one thing I was talking about with some people at a card shop just the other day, in just the grand scheme of things, it's like the Gen 5 kids now are just now entering young adulthood and have that like grown up money now to spend.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that it follows along the Scarlet Violet trend of how they just did, they just abandoned the hat mechanic, and they just sort of started to do callbacks and play off the nostalgia, which is why actually I think Scarlet Violet in the future will be kind of looked back on as the nostalgia block in a way, because you have 151, right, which is the Kanto callback, right? And then Prismatic Evolutions, what were the craziest things in Gen 2 that were introduced?
Oh, the craziest things in Gen 2 that was introduced, the Eevees?
Well, yeah, you get Lugia and Ho-Oh, but I think the expansion of the evolutions, like Espeon, Umbreon, and that's what you get out of Prismatic Evolutions, right? Yeah. And then after that, you have the, what was Gen 3? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on?
I'm trying to understand where you're going with this. I mean, like Kyogre and Groudon, but are you talking about like the Gen 3... What
Scarlet and Violet, all the sets like leading up to White Flare and Black Bolt, like even if you look at the kind of way that they've done callbacks and like gotten rid of the hat mechanics, it's all just a callback to previous like blocks of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like White Flare, Black Bolt, you're talking about like the black and white region, and then they're having this like mini set of mega evolutions, which is going to then call back to the like XY era.
Yeah.
It's like Scarlet and Violet never really got a fully fleshed out kind of like block of new sets the way Sword and Shield was.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, and I do think like that's kind of interesting. Was Scarlet and Violet weak? I don't think the sets were that bad. None of them were weak.
Right.
In terms of Gen, Scarlet and Violet, I would say I had way more fun opening up any Scarlet Violet packs than Sun and Moon, for instance. Give me Scarlet and Violet over Sun and Moon packs any day of the week. You know
really?
What I mean?
You think that?
Yeah, because the pull rates in Sun and Moon were terrible.
Oh yeah,
I mean there are cool sets in Sun and Moon. Are there cool cards in Sun and Moon? Yes. But if you're opening up Sun and Moon, you open up a booster box, you're lucky to get like a couple of random full arts. There was like nothing in there that would be keeping you the same level of attention span like modern sets like White Flare, where you're pulling Master Balls and Pokeballs and illustration rares, boom, boom, boom after that.
That's true. We just feel like now we want to open those sets because now it's like, I mean, we've seen the Sun and Moon, like all the tag teams like go up and like, Sun and Moon, when it first came out, it was right before the boom, the boom happened in Sword and Shield. So I still think like print was like relatively lower during Sun and Moon,
Yeah, and you were talking about that, which is that you think the monochrome cards are way harder pulls than people are giving credit for.
I think so. Them introducing this like BWR rarity, it'll be interesting to see if they keep going with it with certain cards. But from what I'm noticing, even just talking to people, and I get it's the first weekend, like let's let a week or two or three of people opening up Black and White come out. But I mean, it came out with prices being very, very strong. Demand is still far out, pacing supply. So it just kind of seems like from what I've seen pull wise, and you've even kind of pointed out how if you pull a God pack, I don't know if that's rarer or less rare than hitting a BWR, but it's certainly not going to be more expensive.
Yeah. So basically, if you pull yourself a God booster pack, you get yourself one special illustration rare and 9 illustration rare of some sort. So basically, you get a really nice booster pack. It's fantastic. A God booster pack is still fantastic, but in terms of value, the monochrome cards are still better than the God packs in terms of total value.
So hitting that is better. And it's like, if the God pack is the same kind of ratio that they made the God pack in Prismatic Evolutions, which is when they first introduced like a full-on God pack for English Pokemon. I mean, you of course want to hit a Prismatic Evolution God pack all day, right?
Right.
Compared to the black and white one.
Yeah. To make the God packs feel even better, they should have included one monochrome card. Maybe that would have been too intense, but that's what Prismatic feels like.
I agree.
Because in Prismatic Evolutions, if you pull a God pack, you get every single Evolution SIR, which is kind of bonkers, right? Like,
those
that's
are
insane.
The top hits, yeah.
Right. Like that's like 10 SIRs.
I was gonna say, you do the IRs with like a BWR in it, especially with how rare it seems, like, with not a lot of people hitting the BWRs. I think that would have been a good idea. Or instead of a bunch of IRs, they just give you every single SIR. I think that would have made it more impactful as like the highest rarity like chase. But to your point, there's still a lot of gimmicky things that make it to where it's more exciting to open a pack of this stuff than older sets, because you have the Master Balls that you can hunt for, and an IR of every single Pokemon.
The prices are still really strong right now. All the monochrome cards are floating right around $400 per card.
Yeah,
really strong price. The SIRs are also really good. The Zekrom, Reshiram SIRs, and you and I were talking about this. The Ends Plan and the Hilda SIR, even the Trainer SIRs are awesome hits.
They're pretty pricey. And dude, I pulled two Zekrom SIRs for the same person.
Literally last night. He's got duplicate.
And so it's like, to hit that, and it was like maybe within 2 or 3 packs of each other, and that card is still like, it's up there in price. So it's like, I think after the BWRs, just the SIR of the Zekrom and Reshiram are probably like the next best thing to see.
And for the illustration rares, I'm looking at the prices, they're all over the place, because there's just so many illustration rares in this set, and people haven't settle down on the prices yet. Some of the illustration rares are like $5. Other ones, random ones, like I didn't even expect to be super popular, just of random Pokemons, are going for like $15 to $20, which is really interesting. And you do pull an illustration rare inside of every single 1 to 6 booster packs. 1 in 6 booster pack. So the pull rate's good. Like if you open up an ETB, even you don't pull an SIR, you probably get yourself like 2 Pokeball holographic furs, 1 or 2 illustration rare, maybe a full art. And you feel good about it because you didn't end up with nothing. Which is sometimes what happens with an ETB. Is you've experienced it where you rip open an ETB and you pull 0 hits. And it feels terrible.
It does, yeah. It feels like you spent money and then you got nothing out of it. So I mean, we'll see how. I think it's a good set so far. I think it's one of the more I would say top 3 sets of Scarlet Violet. I put it at like, I still think 151 is my favorite out of, Scarlet Violet overall. But, this one probably compared, would I rather open up some Black Bolt and White Flare compared to like, I don't know, Stellar Crown or Twilight Masquerade or certainly Shrouded Fable? Yes, I would rather, open this up.
The hype was still really strong, and you and I were talking about that, was that the lines, when I was driving around on Friday on the release day of White Flare and Black Bolt, the lines were still really long. There were a couple of stores, game shops, who were selling products at retail price. Shout out to them. Their lines were 150 to 200 people long in Vegas because they were selling at retail, and people were camping out at 2 in the morning to get Black Bolt and White Flare. So a line of 150 people long for any trading card release is insane. Of a new set.
Right.
No other card game is getting that level of lines right now.
Right. Yeah. No one's waiting in line for like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or even like One Piece like that crazily, which is, I don't know if that just means, I mean, I still think at the end of the day, Pokemon just, again, like unless they are going to commit for a more long-term plan of printing more Pokemon cards, which would mean they would have to like essentially buy or create like new printing facilities. This is kind of like, this is what max capacity can get you, and it's still not enough. And I've talked to some other like card shop owners. It's like every card shop owner feels like they could use some more Pokemon. Like even just they can't even quell the demand of their neighborhood or their player base, let alone also when you open it up to like the customer base of like the world on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we actually went driving around looking for Black Bolt and White Flare on release day just to talk to some different card shops, right? And we went into one at 2 p.m. and we asked them, hey, like, do you have any Black Bolt and White Flare? And they said, no, we're sold out. And that's the thing, is that it's release date. It's 2 p.m. on release date. So it's been like, they've opened up for 3 hours. And they're sold out of Black Bolt and White Flare, which means the next time that they get more products is a couple weeks down the line during the next release of like booster bundles or something of that nature. But for the next 3 to 4 weeks, if anyone comes into that door, and which they will, in the next 3 weeks, they're going to get plenty of people walking through their door and ask, hey, do you have Black Bolt and White Flare? They have to unfortunately say, hey, no, we're sold out.
They just can't get it. Yeah.
Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor,
Collectr. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Collectr, the smart app for tracking your trading card collection. Whether you're into Pokemon, One Piece, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, Collectr makes tracking your collection effortless.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Rob. I've been using the Collectr app for years. It's an absolute game changer. Whether you're just looking to organize your inventory or catalog all of your whole entire collection, know what your prices are and know what your collection is worth, you gotta try out the Collectr app today.
And the interface is clean and intuitive. No more digging through spreadsheets or scribbled notes. You just have a polished, easy to navigate layout designed by collectors for collectors.
So if you're still using a binder or a basic notes app, it's time to take control and download the Collectr app today. Available on iOS and Android. Use it now and streamline your entire collection today. Try the Collectr app today. Thank you again to them for sponsoring the Card Lounge podcast.
Trust me, once you try it, there's no going back. And you know what? This is a perfect segue into, I think, something that, you know what, when I was at Many Realms talking with some folks, there was this really cool guy. His name, oh man, what was his name? I hope I don't get it. I mean, I think it was Justin, but he'll know who. So he plays Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. We were talking about just card stuff for, you know, Pokemon, One Piece, Magic, just like all the card games and like what we've kind of noticed with shops and just these shops kind of selling out recently, just with the craze of, you know, TCG. He said that he feels like in the last like 10 days, so maybe just like the last 2 weeks, there has been more of an increase in price in Magic the Gathering for just stuff, just like money and cost overall, than he's noticed maybe in the last 5 or 6 years. So there is still something happening, like some sort of, I don't know, trading card game renaissance going on where there are still new players and new collectors entering the hobby by droves, at least faster than there are people that are quitting or leaving the hobby. You know?
So we had a TCG explosion in the late 90s, early 2000s with Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! All gaining like a lot of popularity. There were a couple of other trading card games, but they kind of died out, and we ended up with just the big three, is that we call them, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and Pokemon. Yeah. But now we're seeing a second explosion about 20, 25 years later, is now there's an explosion of other card games that have popped off over the past like couple of years, like One Piece, Flesh and Blood, White Wars, a bunch of other one like Union Arena, Gundam just came out.
Right.
There's a bunch of other ones that have been popping off.
Digimon, Dragon Ball.
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to take a piece of the pie, and over the next 5 years, some of them are going to die. Like, it's very straightforward. Some of them aren't going to last, but it'll be interesting to see which ones last, because there's room in the space for more innovation than just 3 card games. You know, like I've talked to the same thing with Magic the Gathering players or Pokemon players, is that the mechanics of some of these games are kind of old fashioned, you know, playing with land or getting mana locked because you have no mana to play or something of that nature, because those older card games were mechanically designed in a certain way that aren't as innovative as what people want nowadays. Like people are going more fast paced. They want balanced gameplay. They don't like being mana locked, stuff like that. And different card games are solving for that.
Yes, right. Okay, solving for the things that people gripe about in TCG. Speaking of that, we were also talking about how Riftbound, the new League of Legends, you know, like Riot's trying to make a card game. Apparently, I talked to someone, you know, who does cards like locally in Vegas. He's been like playing with proxies and stuff, and basically he said the game is really fun. Yeah. Like, I guess, you know, until I can play a couple rounds of it, I'll reserve my judgment. But I was like, you know, what makes it fun for you? Or like, why are you excited to play it? The game's not even out yet. He's like, so I guess they've released some of the cards and the mechanics and, you know, how you're supposed to play. The idea, though, is they've fixed a lot of gripes that I guess people have with previous card games. You know, it's kind of like with One Piece and having the Dawn deck, or even with Hearthstone, or just, you know, with a lot of the more recent TCGs that have come out, where like Magic and Pokemon are much older and you can get mana flooded or mana screwed, right? And like that just ruins a game. It doesn't mean you're a better player than me or I'm a better player than you. You might lose a round, and in a tournament, that's such a crucial thing to just be like, oh, this is my hand. Well, I guess I just lose to you this game because I've got, 6 energy in my hand or 6 land in my hand. So these new card games have like, fixed that. And apparently now with some of the stuff that's like coming out with new TCG, they're just like really focusing mechanically on making a very meta balanced game. And obviously when things rely more on the player and the skill and how you play the cards and less on random chance or like RNG, like dice rolls or coin flips, you're just going to have a more fun experience playing against people.
Yeah, and this is what we've noticed, like you and I play a lot of trading card games, so that's why we're talking about it in this way. But we've experienced that is that if you play Pokemon and you just need like 1 water energy and you can beat your opponent, and you just are drawing for 5 turns because you can't get an energy to just do an attack, it feels terrible. And that's the same scenario can happen with some of the older card games. And right, these new card games are trying to solve for that, and they're copying a lot of the innovations that these other card games have pulled, right? Because if I am playing with a new card game, they're doing things like alternate art cards, texture cards, secret rares, things that Pokemon and Magic and all these other card games have innovated on. They're just copying it, which is completely fair. They should take the best of these games and make a better version of them. So I'm excited to see what happens. But you're right, because people can't get their hands on Pokemon right now. They're saying, oh, like I'm already at this card shop, I might as well open up some packs of some other products or some other IP. And that's cool. I think Pokemon needs that competition to build up some more demand for them,
Right. Prevents them from being lazy too. They can't just, they've stayed in like first place for so long, but I feel like the more competition that other card games bring, the more it's going to make Pokemon always innovating and creating like the best Pokemon cards possible. Speaking of that, especially with Magic having this crazy, like the Final Fantasy set, crazy. Collector boosters, apparently not only for the Final Fantasy set, but like all the previous sets are starting to like go up in price. So I was going to ask you, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners are, curious about this. Why do you think the market right now, like, I don't know, we made a pod 2 months ago about how like, oh, the market is on fire. And a lot of people were like, oh, this is a bubble. This bubble's going to pop. Oh, like this stuff is at the highest it's going to be, but like in a month, it's all going to tank down. And then they kept saying that like 2 months down the line, and then 3 months, and then 4 months. Apparent prices for Pokemon cards are still going up. Auctions, like all the places are getting all-time record sales for certain cards. What is going on? How can so many people be injecting money into the hobby right now, despite the economy not even being like at its best possible point, like in recent history?
Yeah, so that's something that I make shorts about all day long, which is, like why are some of the prices going up? What are happening in the news? What are some of the macroeconomic reasons why people are picking up so many Pokemon cards? And we both recognize this because this is something that you and I have talked about, but it's because prices are going up, right? The secret is kind of out there now, is that like it's not something that is known to just collectors anymore. People who normally don't collect cards are willing to, drop $5,000 or $10,000 on Pokemon cards just because they have the extra money. They'll say, hey, it's kind of fun. We'll see where it goes. They're willing to risk it, which is kind of interesting, is that there are people out there with way deeper pockets than you and I, like people talk about like how much value there is in Pokemon cards, and it's crazy. There are people out there with $1 million accounts who can easily pick up $50,000 or $100,000 in Pokemon cards, and it's not a big deal for them. They're doing that because it's kind of fun, and they like to see numbers go up. Humans just like seeing bigger numbers go up. It's a fun thing that we all kind of enjoy. It's like a high score game, and they like seeing the numbers go up. And because right now Pokemon numbers are going up, it feels fun. It feels fun.
And this is more fun than like stocks, which are boring, which have no sort of like tangible value or like artistic appeal to them. There's nothing that's kind of like, I don't know, appealing to the eye. I kind of see what you're saying. Are you suggesting that we've kind of hit this, age in 2025, whereas like previously, I guess 90s kids, and when TCGs came out like in the like late 80s, early 90s, you're kind of seeing this, most of us are adults now. There's a lot of adults that do have a lot more money than you or I, or most people, And they could put their money in a lot of different things, but like word has gotten out even outside beyond just the collector community that, oh, if you put your money in Pokemon, it's actually like a better place to put it than like, I don't know, 99% of other places to put it.
Yeah. So that's where the numbers speak, right? The numbers are saying yes. Okay. Right now, Pokemon is climbing faster than the stock market or other trading card collectibles. Is that even if you collect trading cards, right? And you're someone that likes to collect baseball cards or football cards or something like that, and you're a dad or someone, and you see it as an investment, Pokemon cards is still climbing faster than those other collectibles. So you're just putting some of your money in the winner. Is that if there's a horse that's already winning, might as well throw some money behind of it. And basically, we get it. Is that it's risky, you know, people should not be investing in Pokemon cards, but we're simply explaining why they're doing it is because the numbers back it up, is that Pokemon is going up. Regardless whether I agree or disagree with how dangerous it is or what kind of investment it is, right. People are doing it.
It just is what it is. Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. You know what? So I was talking about this with some of the guys at Many Realms with the idea that, so people think it's going up at a super, super fast pace, like the delta and the kind of like change in the short of span of time that it's had is a little like kind of concerning. And I was wondering if you thought, because what I think is not that Pokemon was already understood to be this valuable thing and it's growing to be even like more valuable and it's like super, super overhyped. To be honest, when for 10, 15 years, people were used to getting boxes at $100 a box, that's like what was viewed as MSRP, even though MSRP was $140 and then it became $165. Like, it's like, I just think people got so used to Pokemon being a certain price that it was actually secretly kind of like just all of it, every card, everything was undervalued for so long. And right now what we're seeing happening is the value catch up to not being undervalued anymore, but really actually realizing the proper value point, you know, not what it's worth, but what it's valued at. And then there's more hype on top of that. So now it's like maybe some cards right now are overvalued, but people are willing to stake the fact that it's like, you know what, if I pick up this card now, I know 5 years from now, it's definitely not going to be lower than what I picked it up at. And then to your point, we can't even really control how many collectors are coming into this game where they want to enjoy the hobby for like 6 months or a year or whatever. Or I have talked to a lot of people where, right, you wouldn't describe them as scalpers. They're just people that are like, oh, I'll buy this stuff and I can enjoy it with my kids. I can enjoy, like, I don't know, opening up this stuff for my own fun too. If we open up some stuff to play with, my kids can enjoy it. They can enjoy some of the basic rares. But if we also happen to rip a really amazing card, just the general population of collectors now understands, oh, I immediately need to put that into a sleeve and a top loader. When we were kids, that wasn't just general knowledge, which is why so many older cards got ruined, which is why some vintage cards in high grades are super, super rare, because not that the cards didn't exist, but no one took care of them or people threw them away. Yeah. Now people know to take care of their top hits, and they know about like sending cards off to get graded and authenticated to really like, you know, get the best possible value out of the raw material. Right?
Yeah, and we see that reflected in the population report is that for older cards, the population reports on them are so 9s and below. Like, you never see 10s of older cards. It's very common for you to even like open up a pack and you get like a PSA 6 or 7. But nowadays, you're absolutely right. As soon as a pack is open, most adults, even if they're opening up the packs with their kids, they recognize, oh, I should protect these cards or sleeve up these cards. They inherently have more background knowledge, even if they're not exposed to the hobby, than someone that was collecting 5, 10, 20 years ago. You're absolutely right. They sleeve it, they top load these cards, and it's very easy to grade cards nowadays because you can just go to your local GameStop. You need to know nothing about grading, and you can just say, hey, I want to grade this card. And the whole entire process is streamlined for you in a certain way that was just not available back in the day. And the population report reflects that, is that if you look at modern cards like the Charizard EX from 151, because everyone opened up 151, and if you pull a Charizard SIR, you know, like, hey, that's a signal to grade this card, because you just know, like, hey, it's a rare card. It's an SIR, and that's why it's one of the most graded cards. The Charizard EX from 151 is like one of the top 5 most graded cards right now. It's actually insane on the population report.
Of all time, or you mean
yes,
just in recent?
Of all time.
The Charizard SIR from 151.
Oh yeah, I looked at the number of it. There's close to 60,000 copies graded at PSA.
Really?
Yes, it's actually insane. We recognize that the Great Felt Hat Pikachu, that's another card we talk about. Total population report, 85,000 copies have been graded. You know,
is that the number 1 card graded?
Yeah, it's currently the number 1 most graded Pokemon card of all time.
How can it be the price that it's at then?
Right.
How is that
it's the signal, right? Everyone got one of those cards for free over the past couple of years, and if you're on TikTok or social media, you've seen the Great Felt Hat Pikachu. It's hard to be in the hobby and not seeing that card plaster everywhere. Yeah. If you open up a recent like GameStop mystery pack, they threw a bunch of the Great Felt Hat Pikachu inside of those, and that was like the mascot of the mystery box was that you could pull Great Felt Hat Pikachu.
Right.
But basically, it's everywhere. So everyone knows like, hey, if I get this card, I should probably grade it, which is why it's one of the most graded cards of all time, or the graded card of all time right now, which is insane. But the population report reflects what you're saying is people are grading way more cards than ever before, or keeping their cards in better conditions than ever before.
Do you think there's also, you know, one of the things that I was talking about with some of the guys at the card shop was just the amount of new collectors coming into I think you've touched on this a little bit in maybe like a previous pod, where because they made Chinese cards, now these are like real authentic, like, you know, Pokemon cards that they print in Japan, but, you know, with the Chinese language on it. How many new kids and how many new teenagers and how many just like just collectors in China now are kind of like, whoa, this is kind of cool. Not only do they buy the Chinese cards, but now they're looking at the Japanese cards, and you kind of see this climb happening with like the Ponchos, the Battle Festa, you know, Pikachus, and just certain like promos and Pikachu promos from the you know, the Pokemon centers that I remember when tens of those were just like, you get them for like 100, 110, 120, maybe if it was a really cool one, like 150 to 200. And now they're all kind of like getting up there. And I think it's just because I think globally, like what's interesting is I think a lot of casual collectors, especially a lot of the people that leave, you know, comments maybe on, you know, some of our, you know, shorts where they're not as, I don't know, they'll have a take and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's right. But if you want to think that way, it's kind of like they're just looking at it from the American scope of things. But if you look at like the global perspective and how anyone in the world could possibly buy your Pokemon card or sell a card to whoever, you really start to kind of see that, like, especially for English cards, Pokemon will never be able to print enough in a way that this becomes just like a casual, at least the high-end collectibles like the alt arts and stuff. It's like they'll never be printed into the ground to where they'll be worth nothing, because there's too many people out there that still don't have, I mean, we don't even have Umbreon PSA 10s, like the Moonbreon, you know? And it's like, if we didn't even just without trying, were able to take it into our collection, how are other people like across the globe like treating it? It could even have a high population in a PSA 10. It doesn't matter. There's still going to be cards that people are just going to always want, and they'll always pay like a certain price point for it. And like with so many people entering the hobby, it's like more people that have more money to throw down. Like there's just going to be more competition for the cards, right? Which means to compete, you're going to have to bring more like cash to the table.
Yeah. So that was one of my short that went viral, was that I told people that Chinese collectors are entering the market and they're making some of the moves that you're saying, is that they're picking up cards that they didn't even know existed for the past 20 years. And now they're just picking them up, like the Mario Pikachu and a bunch of other promo cards. And when I made that short, some people were saying like, really, Jake? Chinese collectors are entering the market? And I'm not saying we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people here. We're talking about literally maybe 1,000 wealthy Chinese adults, and that's all it takes.
It could be 100,000,
right? But basically, that's all it takes, is that 100,000 wealthy, affluent adults are picking up one PSA 10 here, one PSA 10 there, and there is not 1,000 Mario Pikachu available for all of them to pick up.
I would say, 10,000 of these like wealthy, like adults, that not even like old Asian guys that have we're talking like just people like us, like
someone in their 30 to 40 with they're educated and they have an
job.
engineering degree and they're making decent, wealthy income.
And they have expendable income.
Yeah,
and you just need 10,000 of those, and then like 20 to 50,000 of just like your casual collectors that are in China that might just like buy a pack or a booster box on a whim. Even if they do that, they affect the supply so much, you know?
Yeah, and so that's why we're saying like it's not like a massive ripple. Chinese market is just brand new. It just opened up, but we're already seeing the Chinese cards are popping off insanely quickly. Some of the ones like the Captain Pikachu, the Umbreon from Horizon Gems 2, it's because the market just isn't there for them, so they're sucking up the demand so quickly. I saw the Umbreon. It's going for $1,500 to $1,700 in a PSA 10.
It's sleeping one?
Yeah, it's rivaling the prices for
the Moonbreon.
Yeah, the Moonbreon, or like the one from Prismatic Evolutions, pretty much.
The EX.
And the other one was the Anniversary Pikachu, the one that you were asking me to get for you.
I
right?
know.
That one in a PSA 10 is going for over $2,000.
I should have picked it up at
now.
1,000. See, now it's 2. So now I'm like, do I pick it up now before it becomes 4, before it becomes 5K? It's like, I feel the need to pick it up. And then there's me and about 100,000 other people that are also thinking like me that are like, I need to pick it up now. And when everyone feels like they need to pick it up, that's how prices just organically go up.
And you are currently working on trying to get yourself one of the Mew EX, the Chinese exclusive Mew EX as well.
Yeah.
So that's another cool card. And they're doing everything right, which is they're making the cards in Japan. The cards are printed in Japan only. It's not actually printed in China. And they just ship it from Japan over to mainland China. And they're doing the right thing, which is these are sets exclusive. They're cool, unique arts that even English collectors want. I would love to have a Captain Pikachu inside of my collection.
Same.
I haven't had a chance to pull it. The Horizon Gem cards, again, Eevee exclusive illustration rare. They're fantastic. Of course people are going to want these.
Do we think at some point they go, you know what, the price for this Chinese Captain's Pikachu is too high. Let's have a promo or an event in Japan. Like they use that artwork in Japan or they print it in English? Or is it like when they say that's a Chinese exclusive artwork that will only be a Chinese card, that's like written in law by like the Pokemon company higher ups?
So nothing's written forever, like there's no rules for any of this. They can do whatever they want. But the basics of it is that I understand it. It is Chinese exclusive. Is that for some of these cards, we are never getting them in English. If it's a Chinese exclusive, it's supposed to stay as a separate market.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing about the Chinese market is that their sets and their cards are unique. It's not part of the international audience. It's that you're not going to see Chinese competitors at the Pokemon World Championship because they're playing the TCG in their own way. It's that they're still playing the card game, but they have a unique set system, unique gen that they're currently running through.
They'll
like
have
you
their
and I
own
were talking
championships.
about.
Right, because they did the combined... they had Sword and Shield blocks that were like 4 of our sets, but shoved into mega packs. And it's like they're like kind of playing catch up, but they're still in their own like they're playing like Sword and Shield mixed with like Scarlet Violet like sets.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now is that their own collectible market is that they're playing the Pokemon TCG, but they're playing different sets than what we are, and they're mechanically using their own sets. Right, and that's creating the friction between the two worlds. Is that imagine they have a bubble and we have a bubble, and the only line between us is like the ocean, and we're importing PSA cards or we're exporting PSA cards to them, and they're importing Horizon Gem booster boxes to us, and that's why the prices are super volatile between here because
our bubbles are touching.
It's that basically Chinese collectors want they want Captain Pikachu PSA 10s, but they don't have PSA in China, so that's why the market is really expensive for these PSA 10 cards because they want those cards, but they can't get it, and so it's like super volatile on that end. And it's the same way over here where, we want your guys' cool booster boxes that we can't get in English, and also obviously we barely have enough English products to open up as is, so any packs that we can open up right now is nice, but the booster boxes from China coming over here, they're getting quite pricey in price as well because we just can't get any.
You know what's so funny? And that also supports the idea that, man, it's like grading companies have it so easy now. Like their company is just not going to go under. That's why I think it's hilarious that people, like even a year ago, I can still remember comments on certain posts that were like, oh, BGS is going to go under, or like BGS is going to, like become nothing like a year from now, because so many people globally now want to grade at the top 3 companies. And then this is also why you have like, TAG, you have like AGS, you have these other like, DG, like other
Have you seen the new Japanese grading company where they do the upside down labels, where the labels for the Japanese grades are on the bottom?
It's ARS, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
And they're super exclusive. They come with like a little plaque for every card that they grade, and they're super backlogged as well in Japan.
They're backlogged,
yeah, but it's very interesting how like these new grading companies are popping up to try to take a piece of the pie.
And they can, because there's so much pie to have. And I think that's so funny, because I think that's the worst way to design. Like, you have the cards up and then the labels at the bottom. What's so funny about that is you can't even collect those. Like, imagine putting those in a Zion case or just a case. You can't see any of the labels. You would have to literally flip them upside down, but then the label will be upside down, it's like the worst way to do it.
I see what you mean, and I don't understand it either. I'm sure that they have their reasons for it.
They just want to be different.
The Japanese side is that they see it almost like a plaque or a frame, and usually on a frame or a plaque or an award, usually the insignia is at the bottom.
I do get what you mean.
So they're doing their own thing, and I'm fine with it. We'll
sure,
see
yeah,
where it
exactly.
goes. I'm not disagreeing with it, but also I'm interested to see where it goes, and they're doing their own stuff, which I'm happy with.
Yeah,
Well,
so what I was gonna say is this supports though the fact that like if you have this global demand now that wants like graded cards, especially, they're the Chinese Captain's Pikachu in a PSA 10. Or in a BGS 10, the idea that all these grading companies have to do is have an easier way to be accessible to the international market. Like, I mean, all the companies have like stuff that they need to fix right now that are so glaring that they just haven't fixed in, so it's just crazy, because it's like if anyone with like that could just run this company more effectively could probably just 8x or 10x their bottom line by just switching like a couple things. And everyone talks about what those things are, like BGS, like getting rid of the 9.5s, but not affecting the grading scale at all. And, they've known about this for the last 5 years, probably longer, and they still haven't done anything. But,
grading companies,
maybe they will
hire
eventually.
us as consultants,
right?
We'll work for you.
But what's interesting is this is why I think some people say, oh, they can't believe the graded prices for Pokemon cards or, whatever collectible card compared to the raw card. Even with your whole thing, I saw an Instagram comment about the fish, and there is a pretty big delta between the raw Magikarp AR from Paldea Evolve and the 10. But what people aren't realizing is these high prices for 10s are because you have the global market all trying to buy the best possible grade for any collectible card. And even if they print a bunch of cards, it doesn't necessarily mean that when you rip a set of something and you get that card, it's going to be worthy of a 10, So there is a huge kind of like, I especially see it now. Like if I'd have known where the 10 market was going to go, especially for PSA 10s, and how I see the trend and what's happening now, I would have just been scooping up every PSA 10 that was under $100 for any sort of like alt art gold card, even an unpopular Pokemon, for the last 6 months to a year ago, because it's like the grading companies are like are starting to change now. Also, it's like, you've talked about this too, like the PSA 10, because they don't have a black label pedigree, their 10 has to be the pedigree. So they're adjusting it now where it's not like, oh, they just give out 10s like candy, which is how it used to be.
Sure.
Now it's kind of like, okay, if you just have one other thing, but then also sometimes there's nothing wrong with the card and they'll put a 6 on it, or they'll put an 8 on something that, should be a 9 or like could be a 10. Like there's like so many flawless cards out there. And then like someone will take that same card, send it to tag, where the robot gets to look at it and it'll be a tag 10, They can't stop themselves from making mistakes because they're just being flooded with cards right now.
So let's talk about that. You said the Magikarp, right? That's a great example. So that basically, if you wanted to get a PSA 10 Magikarp, what are you going to do, right? Your choices are you try to find a raw copy on the secondary market that is PSA 10 worthy. Incredibly hard, because if someone had that card, they would probably grade it anyway.
Themselves.
So most of the copies on the market are going to be flawed in some way or other. So that's a card that's impossible to find raw in a PSA 10 worthy condition, because everyone's aware of the value of it in a PSA 10. So if they had it, they would just grade it themselves. And so what do you have to do? The other option is you rip open booster packs, which is something that we talked about on the previous pod. But every single Paldea Evolved booster box is currently going for close to $400 for a single Paldea Evolved booster box. So what are you going to do? Are you going to spend $5,000, $6,000 to rip open a bunch of Paldea Evolved booster box to find one copy of the Magikarp and hope that it's PSA 10 worthy?
And then you're gambling on if that fish is going to be in pristine condition or not, or gem mint.
Right.
So you know what's so funny? You're talking about that trade-off of the time, or should I just spend a lot of money to save the time of finding a bunch of expensive boxes? You talked about how the boxes were being more expensive, and we had that short where there was someone, I can't remember the person's name, but he got a decent amount of upvotes on his comment, and his comment was like, he basically said, Jake, you're not making any sense. If you're noticing that the boxes are going down in price, or like if you're opening a bunch of boxes, that should make the price of the fish go down, because there's going to be more supply of the fish as more of the sealed product gets opened up. And he thought it was confusing because you were like, oh, I see people opening up stuff. You were noticing that the price of Paldea Evolve was climbing, but the price of the Magikarp was going down. And you were like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. It's time for me to scoop this, because you felt like the price of the Magikarp should be going up, right?
So let's talk about that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Paldea Evolve reached $300 to $400 a booster box, and I'm saying people are no longer going to be ripping open booster boxes. Is that it's a cutoff time. Basically, is that, hey, if you have Paldea Evolve booster boxes, you're probably going to hold it long-term sealed. It's part of your sealed collection.
What makes you say that?
Because most people aren't going to be ripping it open at $400 a booster box. You can still... There will probably still be people opening up booster boxes till the end of time of every single set.
Right.
But it's going to be a dwindle compared to the massive wave at release of Paldea Evolved.
When it's at 150 or...
Right.
So are you basically saying that you feel like 400 is kind of like that price point of just... Like basically if it's under 400, most collectors like would be like, oh, I'll open this up. It's only 200. It's only $300. But at 400, it just becomes too... I don't know, large of a risk?
Yeah. Basically, you're right. It's that the delta is too high for most collectors to be willing to rip something that expensive and take that level of risk. There will always be people ripping open booster packs, but for the most general public, they're not going to be ripping open a $500 booster pack or a booster box and hoping that they might get a decent card. It's too much value to be let go of in one given moment, right? So they're usually going to keep it long term. And what I'm trying to say is that I'm saying the illustration rare Magikarp, the market is kind of settled for it. There's not going to be more copies of it added to the market. Certainly not a flood. There may be a trickle of 10s here or there, but the market's settled. And that's what we're seeing for older cards too, where we're seeing card prices on a bunch of older cards are climbing, like Full Art Gengar EX, random Tag Team EX, GX cards. Cards that have very low pop report. They have 300 PSA 10, 200 PSA 10. And those cards, we're noticing they're climbing. And the reason they're climbing is because the market settled. There are no more PSA 10s of those being added to the market. There may be one PSA 10 added per month if someone gets lucky grading them inside of their binder that they kept safe for 6 years. But the market settled. There is no more copies of those. So if you want one, the only person that you're going to get a copy of some of those cards is by prying it off the hand of another collector. And that's why they're charging more, because no collector wants to let go of a valuable, rare, iconic card that they've had inside of their collection. So that's why we're seeing those prices on those older cards climb.
That makes sense. The interesting thing is you also mentioned how the booster box for like say XY Phantom Forces was last sold like $10,000, right? There were some people that were commenting kind of in this same vein, but also not understanding. It's like, oh, would a new, like someone was like, oh, do you think like people entering the hobby, you know, would still open up an XY Phantom Forces booster box? When you see those out in the wild, usually it's probably someone that's going to pick it up for their sealed collection. And now they got to spend 10 grand to do it because there's just not a lot of options out there. But it was like, there was this one comment where, you know, I don't think they probably considered this, but, you know, just look at base set and every other rare set box break that has happened in the last like 5 to 10 years. It's kind of like, they were just like, there's no one that would just enter this hobby and spend 10K on the XY Phantom Forces booster box to to do a box break or open it. And I was like, yeah, that can also happen too, though. That's the only way to essentially get more of the Gengars in that set out. We don't even know if they're going to be PSA 10 worthy, but if you want a shot at increasing the population of any sort of card from any set, you actually have to open the source, the sealed product.
Right.
And there will be some guy that 10K to them is like nothing, whether it's an NBA player or whatever.
We see these collectors all the time. There's so many people that are millionaires out there that collect Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
We see photos of celebrities buying and selling Pokemon cards all the time.
Just streamers now, or like if you're a DJ or like, you know, a musician, there's so many DJs now that like, you know, they make money. You know, this is like, there's Steve Aoki, and then there's like all these other DJs people probably never even heard of. They like enjoy collecting Pokemon cards. If one of those guys, their favorite Pokemon is Gengar, and it's like, I don't know, their birthday's coming up, you don't think off a whim they'll just be like, you know what, let's try to find an XY Phantom Forces box. They'll drop the money on it, and then they'll just crack it, whether they like make content out of it or not, you know?
Yeah. So I completely understand where you're coming from, which is basically these collectors out there, and I get them. It sounds insane. It sounds ridiculous to say, like, wait, you're going to open up a $10,000 booster box? I've never even had $10,000 in my bank account. Yeah. So I understand that. That's a completely fair, normal point of view. But we also understand that there are collectors out there, or rich people out there with $1 million bank account. And yes, they would open up a $10,000 booster box for their 10-year-old's birthday to get that magic moment with that kid. Mm-hmm. And they have the money to do that. And they are willing to do that, is what we're saying. And that's why we still see vintage booster boxes being ripped all the time. We were just talking about how we were at Card Party, and we saw multiple booster boxes just open up. And these are 25, 26-year-old boxes.
Right. Base set stuff. Just like, you know, like nothing, but you know, well, obviously Pat's not doing it for nothing. Like, it's really cool that he can source and get some base set booster boxes, because then he does a stage event, he's filming it, and it is really cool to see like kids nowadays that like, they don't even really know what a base set booster box is, or that, you know, they didn't grow up with the packs, but you know, when they're on stage, they can tell it's like they're opening something more special than just some, you know, Stellar Crown pack or recent, you know, Twilight Masquerade pack. And to see those kids like hit like super big hollows from base set, it's just like you know, that's the core memory created. That's why, you know, I can remember when I pulled like first edition holographic Venusaur and like certain big hits from when I was a kid, because it was just so like exhilarating when you like weren't expecting it and you pulled that big hit, you know?
Yeah. And so that's who's opening up these booster boxes. And, you know, like, we don't know these people, but yes, if Megan Thee Stallion had a 12-year-old kid and they wanted to collect Pokemon cards, would she open up a $20,000 booster box?
She doesn't even need a kid,
right?
She likes anime. She'll probably just open up a box
if these people want to open up booster boxes, they will.
So yeah, Megan Thee Stallion, if you want to do a box break, me and Jake will bring the XY Phantom Forces box.
I'm down for it. I mean, I'm down for any celebrity party where they're breaking a expensive booster box.
Yeah.
Not that I want any of the packs, but I just want to experience it, because, you know, like, how often are we going to open up a $50,000 or $60,000 vintage booster box, or even see it live? You know, right. I just want to be a part of that experience, because it would just be fun to geek out.
It would just be fun. I missed the Collector one at Card Party, but I would love if like Collector did like another box break that they host, and we just like all got to rip packs. It's so fun.
Yeah, and the thing is, any major convention right now, those pack breaks are happening right now.
Yeah.
I think even at a Collecticon 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw on a live stream, they ripped open a Legendary Collection booster box, which is cool. Again, that's like one of your favorite sets.
It's wild.
And that's what's happening at card shows. And we are going to be at a bunch of card shows going up. So if you guys want to see us live and come by and give us a high five or something of that nature, we'll be at some upcoming shows.
Yeah. Next thing, I guess the next thing is Pokemon Worlds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be both at Pokemon World Championship on the Friday of the Pokemon World Championship. We'll both be there.
Yes, yeah. So guys, if you're going to Pokemon Worlds, it's happening in Anaheim this year. Jake and I, if you want to catch both of us to get the full Card Lounge experience, we'll both be there on Friday, and then I'll actually be coming back to Vegas early, unfortunately, but because of the Front Row card show. And Front Row is just, they're so great. The person that runs it, she's phenomenal. So it's like, definitely want to make sure that we're there for the Front Row card show, and it just happened to fall on the same weekend. But you'll be it'll be very easy for you guys to find us at the Front Row Card Show, and then you'll also be able to maybe make the tail end of it on
so
Sunday.
Basically, I'll be at the Pokemon World Championship on Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
Live streaming and seeing what all the news coming out, because I'm sure there'll be some large announcement at Pokemon World Championship. But on Sunday, I'll be making it back to Las Vegas to also join you at the Las Vegas Card Show, or the Front Row Card Show. So if you guys want to see us both, you have a chance to see us both at the World Championship on Friday, and see us both on Sunday at the Front Row Card Show. And you'll know us because we'll be a giant banner that says Card Lounge.
You'll know because, guys, Gravy Designs hooked us up with the Card Lounge retractable banner. We also got a cool table banner as well as a tablecloth. The prices were amazing. It's just super high quality. I mean, look at it. It's so easy to be able to just like tell, like, oh, okay, like these guys, they do Pokemon cards, they do TCG. They can also put a cool like QR code that people can scan, which can link to your, your website, your business, your social media, whatever. So shout outs to Gravy Designs. We also got them to help us make our merch.
Yeah, and these came out really, really clean. I had
so good.
I was wearing one of their shirts on one of my recent videos where I was just talking, and there were a bunch of comments saying, hey, man, how can I get a Card Lounge shirts? And you can get them at the Front Row Card Show. We don't really have a store for apparels yet or anything of that nature, but we're trying our best. We're working on it, and these are going to be really cool. If you guys want to wear one, they just look nice. They look clean. I would wear this normally.
Exactly. Like, I've been wearing this shirt so much. Like, the shirts are, like, so soft, but also, like, high quality, which I'm glad. Guys, our merch is going to be high quality stuff, so we're going to keep getting stuff made by Gravy Designs. If you want to check them out, maybe you got a business, you need to get some merch made for yourself, or maybe you're in the Pokemon TCG hobby space. Like, one of the things about Gravy Designs is it's like for collectors, by collectors, that they only make signs. I mean, I'm sure they make signs for everything, but they make a lot of signs for people that vend and, are in the Pokemon hobby. So a lot of your favorite like vendors that you've probably seen on a lot of like YouTube videos, they go to Gravy Designs. And yeah, if you want to go check out their website, just, Google Gravy Designs. If you want merch made, if you're buying anything, use code CardLounge at checkout for 15% off, and tell them Robo and Jake sent you.
Yeah, super cool banner. If you see this banner, clearly it's us. It's nice that it's large and huge, and we'll be at Front Row Card Show buying and selling and trading Pokemon cards. So if you guys see us there, bring us some cool cards, and maybe we'll have a trade. Maybe we'll do a coin flip. It'll be fun.
Speaking of that, so on Friday, we're probably going to be making some content on Friday. We can make a couple
Pokemon World Championship.
Yeah, videos, and then on Saturday, that's when they do the announcement, or is it on Sunday for any of the like releases, like, if they talk about the next gen set? Is that on Saturday or Sunday?
No idea. I have no idea what's happening at the Pokemon World Championship yet. I'm just going to go there and experience it. But I remember we were talking about it at our last podcast, which was you and I had a little guessing game on what the next generation was going to be.
Right.
I think we landed on Fork and Spoon and Mud and Dirt or something of that nature. Okay, no, we didn't. But it was pretty fun, but we weren't too far off. I remember you mentioned Sea and Sky as one of the options. And the comment section let us know that apparently there were some leaks that happened, and that they have a good understanding of what the next gen is. Whether it's true or not, we don't know.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What are they thinking it's going to be?
It's supposed to be based around something similar to Sea and Sky, which is supposed to be what I heard was Wind and Wave or something of that nature. Where it's going to be something watery, something sky-ish.
Interesting. It is funny that they just came out with that like Crown Zenith box called Sea and Sky, but really
that's a great name. That's a great name for
Pokemon Sea, Pokemon Sky. And then there'll be a water legendary and a sky legendary,
which is already taken. But that's the thing. There's kind of a Pokemon that is the god of every kind of thing that you can think
element in the world.
Yeah, every element, time, space, psychic, dark, earth, land, sea. It's all been taken.
They're just running out of like ideas, which is why our last legendaries were a fiery goldfish and a monkey dory, and a Pheasantipity.
Are you talking about Chi-Yu? Are we still talking about Chi-Yu?
Yeah, we're talking about Chi-Yu, Ting-Lu, Chim-Pao.
I know those weren't super popular, and like the Scarlet and Violet era, those aren't even new colors. I think we talked about this. Scarlet and Violet are just hues or shades of red and blue. It's just more red and blue. They just went back to red and blue with Scarlet and Violet in the naming scheme of things.
Which is how they're kind of running out of ideas.
Ruby and Sapphire, it's just red and blue.
Already did. Yeah, of course. They just need two opposing things. I mean, they might do two opposing colors again, like that, or just like I don't know, like Topaz and Aquamarine.
As long as we get something that is a new legendary that is not more dogs, and I'm kind of done with the dog legendaries, because obviously we had dog legendaries in Sword and Shield, and Koraidon and Miraidon are pretty dog-like pretty much. I'm not against it.
They walk on all fours.
They're very cute, very cuddly. But I think we could go with cooler designs. Some of the most iconic
motorcycle dragons. Though.
I get that, but like
which is absurd, actually.
Rayquaza is iconic, and it's because it's unique.
It is unique. I agree.
Mewtwo, there's nothing like Mewtwo.
Rayquaza, Mewtwo. No, I know.
Mewtwo is so unique.
They need to get back to the drawing board and make their own creature, their own design. It doesn't have to be based off of an animal. Or an inanimate object.
I completely agree with you. I think something that's happened with Pokemon design is that they've gone too complex with the design. If you think about the older Pokemon design, something like Pikachu or Mew, they're pretty easy to draw. There's some more complex ones, but basically, what is Voltorb? It's just literally just a Pokeball. Most of the Pokemon designs were very iconic and easy to draw. I think most kids, even if they really tried to, they could probably draw like a Blastoise or a Charizard, because they have kind of like iconic designs,
Okay,
you could put some cannons behind a turtle and I could tell it's Blastoise.
Right.
But I feel like for some of the modern Pokemon, their designs have gone a little bit too complex. I don't think most kids can draw a Koraidon or Miraidon. You know what I mean? They look complex to draw.
Yeah, but at the same time, if they made it look more simplistic, it would be like, I get what you're saying. They just they can't, you know what, simplistic Klefki, but you also can't put eyes on a ring of keys and be like, hey guys,
if you ask me where
Pokemon.
Klefki's eyes are on the Pokemon, I have no idea.
They're on the keys.
But which key do I put the eyes on?
The face key.
Or are they on the key ring at all?
They could be floating on the key ring.
If you ask me what Klefki looks like, I can picture it, which is, a set of keys.
Yeah.
But if you told me where the eyes were, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or the mouth. I have no idea, because some of the Pokemon designs are kind of vague now.
It's kind of like what you were saying about the Vanillux, how the eyes are on like the middle cone, but then there's the little the stem that comes out of the ice cream, and we know that that's supposed to be like the little like pirouette thing that's inside an ice cream cone, but that's just where it shoots its like snow out of,
which is weird.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I noticed, because I pulled the Vanillux illustration rare from Black Bolt and White Flare, but the illustration rare looks really weird. Yeah. And I looked at this Pokemon, I was like, man, we might have gone too far with Pokemon design on some of these.
Yeah, I think you just need to like get some creative people in there, start like creating new ideas. Who knows what the next gen thing is going to be. They're bringing back megas right now, with the new Mega Evolution.
We haven't really seen too many of the new megas yet.
Right.
There's supposed to be a bunch of new Mega Evolutions, but we haven't even seen those yet.
And that's going to be exciting. And I think with the new Legends ZA game, like they're bringing back something that isn't just like a crystal hat gimmick. It's like, Mega Evolution is a gimmick, but it's a worthwhile one for any video game or show. The idea that, it's just playing off what Pokemon is. It's another extended evolution, a more powerful, a mega evolution, right? So it's just like, if they use that for this, the next mainline game, they're going to have to come up with another kind of cool thing. They need to innovate, So we're really going to be looking to Pokemon to really innovate something that's going to keep Pokemon exciting, especially because I don't think they're going to be able to play as much on the nostalgia, tugging of the heartstrings, and the nostalgia of like how Scarlet Violet did the callbacks to like, 151, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black Bolt, White Flare, like Black and White. They're just not going to have that.
Yeah, so the Pokemon World Championship is coming up in 4 weeks, and we're excited about it. We're both going to be going there. Some of the stuff that I expect to be announced or talked about, they're going to talk about Legends EA and Mega Evolutions, because those are the two immediate things that are about to launch right after the Pokemon World Championship. Is Mega Evolution is coming out right after the World Championship.
Yep.
And Legends EA is coming out as well in October.
Right.
But then they'll probably tease or announce the next gen, and that's what we're hoping to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know for sure they're going to announce it yet, but they're most likely going to announce it because they need something that is the next thing for people to be excited about. And we don't have another game or another IP or another generation coming out after Legends EA. And Legends EA is not a true new generation, which is why some people are still confused by Mega Evolution. Is they don't understand, hey, is this going to be 1 set? Is this going to be 6 set? Is this going to be 3 years of Mega Evolution?
Yeah,
you know, like none of it is known at all, which is really, really weird. And I know some people are kind of putting a lot of effort into Mega Evolution, saying like this is going to be a big set, and it is a really cool set, but I just want people to be aware there's a bunch of Mega Evolution Pokemon that we know don't even exist yet that are going to be announced in Legends EA, and those will probably have cards. If there's a Pokemon and it has a new Mega Evolution, no doubt in my mind, there will be a card version of it. And those sets are going to come out later with callbacks of previous Mega Evolutions like Mega Mewtwo, Mega Charizard,
Mega Rayquaza.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, those will be big.
Those will be the hype sets that I think will surpass Mega Evolution, which is why we're saying, hey, even though Mega Evolution is really, really cool, there's way other cooler Pokemons for future Mega Evolution sets that are going to come out later that are going to surpass it in a certain extent.
Because there was never one of the new ones is Mega Greninja, right?
I think so.
I think one of the new ones is Mega Greninja.
That wouldn't surprise me because Greninja is super popular.
Right,
it's a fan favorite.
Like they always got to add megas to the fan favorites. And then there's also like, I don't know, like there's people whose favorite Pokemon is every Pokemon. So there's like, there's like Mega Chandelure.
I'm waiting for
Mega Starmie.
The Mega Legendaries because obviously Rayquaza and Mewtwo got Mega Evolution.
Gosh. If they made like a Mega Lugia or a Mega
that was my next step.
That would be sick.
Is that some of these legendaries might get Mega Evolutions, and once those come out, those will be the big ones. Like those would be really cool, and I'm confident the SIRs are going to be great because you and I were talking about the leaks for the Mega Evolution SIRs and how they're doing those. We saw the Mega Lucario was fighting the Mega Venusaur. That was a really cool SIR. The Latias was really good as well. Like they're good SIRs for these Mega Evolutions. And I'm happy that they're continuing to doing SIRs in Mega Evolution because that was not even a guarantee that in Mega Evolutions they were even going to have SIRs.
Right. And so I think it's cool that you get the cool art rares and the SIRs, and it's kind of like the idea that, well, this is going to help increase kind of like the callback to all the XY megas, which, I mean, if you go back and look at some of them, I mean, honestly, even more so than some of the V-Star and the V-Max alt arts, I think Mega Evolutions were like really undervalued. And now, because they already announced it, we talked about this on our like, 4th or 5th pod ever, the people that were already going back in time and scooping up the megas, I think that ship has already sailed. Like when Mega drops, people are still going to be trying to go back and pick up old school like Mega Evolutions, and you already have people out there that are like, buying them up. So the price is going to actually start to be closer to what it's worth, especially for how old XY sets are and how little of it was printed compared to like the printing of modern day Pokemon. And, if they come out with some cool new Mega cards, I think Mega Pokemon cards will just be these like really cool parts of Pokemon history, even like 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah, and no hate on it at all. I don't have a ton of Mega Evolutions inside of my collection because that's not my gen, and that wasn't a set that I was particularly into collecting, and that's completely fine. They're popping off, and I'm happy that they're popping off. I think there's a lot of people out there that get really angry when certain cards get very expensive, and they say like, oh no, this is market manipulation, or that card can't be worth it. And I'm of two minds of it, is that basically, wait, do you have this card inside of your collection? If you don't have it, why do you care what price this card is currently at? You kind of know.
Right.
Where, hey, let's say Mega Groudon EX is now a $3,000 PSA 10. I don't have it inside of my collection, but I can say, hey, that's neat. I'm not angry, or I don't really have a strong opinion either way on it, but I think some people do. And I just want to understand where they're coming from. Do you kind of see that, where a lot of people are calling out market manipulations or scalping or pump and dumps on cards that they don't own, or they don't have a skin in the game. So I'm not sure where their animosity is coming from.
Well, you just answered the question. I think from a psychological perspective, the only rational example would mean it's just a self-reflective thing. So they're mad about something. Maybe they're mad they missed the boat. Maybe they're mad that, they're upset they couldn't get it earlier and they realize they do want one in their collection, but now it's too expensive, so it just probably speaks to something like internally. And then, really if they actually were introspective and kind of were like, okay, let me see like why I feel this way. I'm sure they could figure out if they truly do want to get the card, and then they can find a way to buy it or trade for it. Or they might come to the conclusion like, oh, this, like you're saying, it doesn't really affect me at all. So I'm not going to like waste my time or energy really, caring about it, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's really good of you to speak on that. I think that makes a lot of sense, is that basically if I don't have one of these cards, I don't mind if it goes up or down, like the price on it doesn't impact me at the end of the day. And I think it's cool that these Mega Evolutions are finally getting some love, because we've been talking about that for a long time. Even though I don't have these cards, I have no skin in the game, whether they go up or down. I do understand, hey, their population report is 300.
I know.
And there is no more of them being added to the market. So if you want one, you kind of have to.
There's some cool ones. I actually regret not getting a Mega Rayquaza, because from Ancient Origins, it's just a very cool looking
It is
card.
a really cool. I know what you're talking about.
Nice.
And the thing is, there is multiple different price points. Sometimes people talk about how expensive certain cards are in a PSA 10, but you don't have to get a PSA 10. You can easily go for a 9 or less, or a raw, and they're still very affordable.
To your point, for the artwork, honestly, if it was one of those things where PSA put a 6 or a 7 on it, but it was for something on the back that wasn't even like affecting the card artwork at all, I would just pick it up for cheap, just to have it as in my, the reason it's probably not in my collection is because I know there's other things I want, and I want more, so I'm spending the money on those things. But if I just want to pick up the Mega Rayquaza, I don't feel like I need to have it in a 10. I'd be happy having it in my collection as a 9 or 8, simply so I could have the card.
That's actually a secret tip that I saw some people talking about, and I guess it's not that much of a secret anymore. But a lot of people who are very savvy will actually go onto eBay or the secondary market, and they'll find really clean copies of PSA 5s or 6.
Yeah.
Is that you can easily find a 151 Charizard special illustration rare EX, PSA 6 or 5. They exist on the market, and they're going to be cheaper than a raw near mint copy. And if the only issue with it is, let's say, like a small inconspicuous dent that you literally can't even spot, it is probably better than most near mint raw copies.
Correct.
So you can pick up some really affordable cards if you know what you're doing, and timing the market and finding little gems like that are just underrated. People put too much effort into the label, basically, on some
the number. Exactly. I'll say this, like, guys, you always want to like buy the card, not the number. Like, buy the card, not the grade. The label is cool if you can really determine that you have like the most pristine version of the card, like, which is why I think, as most people do in the hobby, rate a BGS 10 black label over any other label. I mean, a PSA 10, they keep just making so many mistakes with their grading that it's like hard to even give that much weight. But it's like the idea that, okay, if I can get a PSA 10 of a card, that's awesome. But if I can also just get a clean card of something that I just want one of in my collection, I'm happy to just like buy that clean copy version. I think I've done that with a lot of the other megas I have. Like, I just saw a card that was like an 8. I think I have a Mega Ampharos and a Mega Gengar in 8 or 9.
Yeah,
and
I'm the same way.
I saw them at a card show.
Raw cards.
Yeah, and I was like, these look awesome. It's already slabbed up, and it was like $60, $70, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'd rather trade $70 to have this card in my collection, because I know I can make $70 again, but I might not be able to find a card that looks this good ever again, like how with whatever grade is on it.
I think some collectors put themselves too much into a box. Is that basically you and I aren't just graded collectors or sealed collectors or raw collectors. We'll collect anything that we like.
We enjoy the cards. Yeah.
If there's something cool and it's underrated,
it's not about the money for me or what the cost is to other people. It's like, I just want the card in my collection.
So there are plenty of really cool cards that we can pick up raw, and that can be the right occasion sometimes. And we're definitely going to be picking up some awesome cards at Front Row Card Show and at the Pokemon World Championship. So if you guys see us there, be sure to say hi. We'll be at both events.
And then last thing, before we end the pod, let's do what do you think, or what would be your guess as to what the next gimmick would be in the next mainline set, like the game gimmick or whatever?
So here's the thing. They've done a couple of different gimmicks, and I did a poll on this to see which gimmicks are the most popular. The last 4 gimmicks were Terrestrialize.
Yep.
Z move. Do you remember Z moves from Sun and Moon?
Yeah. Sword and Shield was going V Max.
Gigantamax or Dynamax. Z moves was Alola region, and the one before that was Mega.
And the Z move is just like one move that in the battle you can use once, right? Because I know in the card game that would be your GX tag team, like your move where once you use that on one of your Pokemon, you flip that marker over and you can't use that move for the rest of the game.
Mechanics, Z moves was by far the least most popular, and I think it was because it was not transformative. People like seeing their Pokemons evolve or transform or change in some way or nature. And so most of the mechanics now are based around the Pokemon changing in some way.
Right.
So I think the next mechanic has to be something that changes the Pokemon's appearance or style in some form or fashion, basically.
But how do you do that? That's interesting. Okay, so just something to change its like look or style?
I am going to throw out a wild guess, and this is super wild.
I have a guess too. I'll go after you.
There's no shot they're doing this, but I'm still going to throw it out there because you might as well go big or go home, okay?
Sure.
The next mechanic is fusion style, Dragon Ball Z style, where they take 2 Pokemon, they combine them, and they create a new Pokemon. And it's only possible for certain combos. They're not going to make every Pokemon fusionable, but some of them are fusionable, and I think that'd be a really cool mechanic too.
Digimon use that. You know what's so funny? That is the thing that they can still. I think that's a break the glass thing. I think that's a winning combo. When you have Pikazard, I know they don't use Ash anymore, but like if on his team there was like a gemstone, like the Mega, like there's something where it's like, all right, Pikachu, all right, Charizard, we're losing to this guy's Lucario and Electabuzz. Use Fusion Dance, and then it becomes Pikazard, and it's like this like.
Is that jumping the shark too much? But I think you gotta go big or go home.
No, okay.
That's my prediction.
Who knows if it happens next? I don't think it'll happen next, but I love that I want that to happen eventually
because I think it's hilarious.
I'm down for it. It's a good gimmick. I think it's a, like you get to combine favorites.
It's basically Tag Team GX, but next level, basically. Yeah.
So you just touched on what I think it is. So for the game, you know what I realize, especially when you look at how the card game is played, but also how many people enjoy playing the video game. Mm-hmm. You know how the video game has basically evolved where to prevent like a one-on-one, if we're playing one-on-one and I send out a Pokemon, then it's got the advantage over your Pokemon. You essentially just swap out.
I know what you mean. It's that basically for most competitive Pokemon matches, it's tag team or double team. Yeah,
it's now tag team, and I think people have really enjoyed going back to the Sun and Moon era and collecting the tag teams. You also have, like Alex. Shout outs to Alex and Pat. Doing their opening of Team Up and getting the tag team Lovebirds, right? So I think with Latios, I think with just tag team cards, I could see where they just make a video game where that becomes the style of play.
The main mechanic for the next game is duo carry. It might be interesting.
It's just all right. Like even now when you play Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield, when you go face the gym, the gym battles are all one-on-one. And that's how Pokemon is. But then when you play in the competitive scene, it's 2-on-2. So you build moves where like maybe you have like a Pokemon on your team that's setting up like weather effects, right? And then you have a Pokemon that's like more on the attack, but then you have a Pokemon that like defends both the Pokemon through some sort of like move set. You see what I'm saying? And what that essentially is tag team. If they just made a game where they just leaned into the tag team, every single battle would be 2-on-2. And then what you could do with the cards is you could bring back the tag team mechanic. So from Sun and Moon, you just have all these new tag team cards. They can revamp some of the classics, like have a new, I guess you could do an alt art of like Latios, but you could also just mix new Pokemon together. So now, we had a Charizard card with Reshiram, right? That was the tag team. Yeah. And they made Charizard tag team with Breaksin, right? Mm-hmm. You could do like Charizard with Cinderace, or you could just do like Charizard with a non-fire type, like Charizard Gengar tag team. Like how many people would flip out over that card and then just see like one of the moves is a fire type and one of the moves is a psychic type. Like
I think that'd be cool. I think that's an interesting mechanic, and I think that's something that they absolutely can do. I think the question people have is, oh, what if I only have one Pokemon? If you only have one Pokemon, you only have one Pokemon. That's fine in the game too, is that you can have 2 Pokemon battling your one Pokemon.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's not like impossible.
Yeah.
Like that could happen, and it's not that big of a deal.
Or maybe you start with a tag team starter, like they
which would be neat if you have two starters
grass,
instead of
one.
one.
It's like two. Yeah, you get to pick two starters somehow, and that you grow those Pokemon on your team. That would be interesting.
I like your mechanic. I like mine. I think yours is more likely than mine, but I think they're both really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm down for the announcement. It'll probably come out in the next couple of weeks. We'll see if we make the right call out.
We'll see what you guys think.
It'll go viral if we get it right.
You guys in the comments, let us know what you think like the next main big Pokemon mechanic is, or what you'd like to see, and then we'll see in all the comments what gets the most upvotes, and we'll see if maybe someone actually predicts.
Yeah, if one of you guys call out what the actual next gen would be, that'd be absolutely insane.
That'd be epic.
But with the amount of data mining and leaks and stuff happening, I'm sure you guys have already figured out all the next 100 Pokemons already, and you'll let us know.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you guys for listening again every week. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you've been enjoying the podcast, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you for lounging with us. Peace out, everyone.